Dolphins Today is sponsored by Mint Mobile. They have cell phone plans starting as low as $15 per month. Start saving today by going to mintmobile.com/chatsports. We'll tell you more about them later on today's show. Dolphins fans, I am Will Scott. Welcome in to Dolphins Today. And I know you guys know that I like to bring, a lot of positive energy to the channel, which is true. Today's show, though, I'm going to rant. Before I do, help us get to 33,000 subscribers. We're almost there. Go down, hit that big red subscribe button. We bring you guys daily Dolphins content, also watch parties, post-game recaps, live shows every week. Go down, subscribe to the channel today. Let's get in some takeaways, some rumors after yesterday's game. The offensive line sucks. This is not a surprise. We knew this was going to happen coming into the season, and yesterday was probably the worst game we've seen from this Dolphins offensive line. The PFF grades were released this morning. Here is what they look like. Greg Little, who was protecting both of your quarterbacks' blind sides yesterday, had a 21.5 grade, 25.1 grade. Just absolutely abysmal. Eichenberg, I don't know if this is fake news, but Eichenberg had the highest grade out of all the Dolphins offensive linemen. I kind of thought he was blown up yesterday. Connor Williams, not good again, 56.3 grade. Robert Hunt, who's been one of the more consistent, not just offensive linemen, players on your team, he had a rough day, 58.7. Brandon Shell was decent in his first start as a Dolphin as the right tackle, 66.8 grade for the former Seattle Seahawk. Yesterday against the Vikings in that 24-16 loss, Miami gave up 6 sacks and 20 pressures. They rank dead last in the NFL this season with a 40.2 pass blocking grade. Disastrous. This has been just abysmal from this offensive line all season long. I am sick and tired of it. How frustrated are you about the offensive line? Scale it 1 to 10 down in the comment section. I think I'm going to see a lot of 10s down there. It is the pinned comment. Reply to it when you get a second. How frustrated are you? What is your frustration level in the Dolphins offensive line? And look, this is why I ranted about the Dolphins offensive line all offseason. When I first got the job here in March to now, I have been talking a lot about the offensive line because I know that Chris Grier did not do enough in the offseason to improve the offensive line. Yes, you signed Terron Armstead, you signed Connor Williams, but you're looking at last year's offensive line. It was literally the worst offensive line in the league. You did not do enough to improvement. You're experimenting with guys that shouldn't be at their respective positions. Connor Williams, Lee, and Eichenberg being 2 of those guys. You've not done enough, and now you're looking at a situation where your quarterbacks keep getting hurt. For the last 3 weeks, every single week, week 4, week 5, week 6, a Dolphins starting quarterback has left the game due to an injury. Week 4 against the Bengals, Tua left due to a concussion. Week 5, Teddy left because he was in protocol. Week 6, yesterday, Skyler left due to a thumb injury. And guess what happened in those 3 games? What happened, producer Patrick Seaman? The Dolphins lost all 3 of those games. For 3 straight weeks, the person that started the game at quarterback for the Dolphins has left the game due to an injury. That tells you how abysmal this offensive line is. Look, when you're talking about Tua, you have a special player, right? You have to protect Tua Tagovailoa. His first 2 years in the league, we did not see him reach his full potential because of the offensive line and because of other reasons, coaching, weapons, lack of weapons, I should say, and whatnot. This year, you saw the first 3 games. Tua was exceptional, was an MVP candidate, arguably the MVP frontrunner after the first 3 weeks of the season with good coaching, with weapons. But then in week 4, he goes down. He was hit. Keep in mind, he was hit a lot the first 3 weeks of the season, too. This offensive line has got to protect Tua. You have a special player in Tua Tagovailoa, man. I'm nervous about Sunday against the Steelers. You're facing not a great team, but a pretty solid defense. They're going to look to put pressure on Tua in his first game back. Before we get into more about the offensive line, I can promise you we have a lot more to talk about with the offensive line. I want to tell you about our good friends over at Mint Mobile. See, they're putting me in a good mood, producer Patrick Seaman. Mint Mobile is putting me in a good mood. Dolphins offensive line, not so much. But the reason I'm in a great mood talking about Mint Mobile is because I've saved So much money making the switch, and when you make the switch, your service is going to switch seamlessly between 5G and 4G LTE, whatever network is the strongest, and that's how you save money right there. Plans starting as low as $15 per month. That is the link to get the great deal. mintmobile.com/chatsports. That link is in the comments and the description of this video. Joe Shad tweeted this out this morning. This is such a joke. Miami Dolphins offensive tackle Greg Little had a 1.5 pass blocking grade yesterday, according to PFF. That's not 1.5 out of 5. That's not 1.5 out of 10. That's 1.5 out of 100! How is it even possible to have that low of a grade? And quite frankly, that grade is still too high. 19 pressures allowed, including 9 yesterday for Greg Little, over the last 3 games. He's been the guy that's been starting in place of Austin Jackson. Yesterday, he started in place of Terron Armstead, left tackle, so he's been protecting whatever quarterback's been out there, their blind side. His pass block grade for the season is at a 19.8 out of 100. 19.8 pass block grade this season. Worst pass block grade in the league by far. You cannot tell me you're trying to win football games. This is what I tweeted out this morning. And you can't. There's no way that you can throw him out there next week and tell me you're serious about winning football games. You just can't. You cannot tell me as an organization that you are trying to win football games if you keep throwing this guy out there. He is not your best chance to win. Go get some guy from American Heritage High School down the street and put him on the field because he can block better than Greg Little can block. Take a look at this. 6 sacks, or I should say this, 3 sacks allowed. Just yesterday, Greg Little himself allowed 3 sacks yesterday, 9 pressures, 1.5 pass block grade on PFF. He's given up the 6th most sacks amongst any offensive lineman this season. First most pressures amongst any offensive lineman this season. It has been horrendous. Oh, my goodness. I had to get that all out, Seeps. That was, What should the Dolphins do with Greg Little? Type C for cut or type K for keep down in the comment section. Look, I was all for giving this guy a chance, and he actually played well in the Dolphins preseason finale. You've given him a 5-week trial, right, as a starting offensive lineman on this team, and you gotta end this experiment. It's just not working. You gotta let Greg Little walk. Austin Jackson, he's hopefully going to be back this week. Start him at right tackle, and hopefully Terron Armstead's back this week as well, and then have Brandon Shell be the backup swing tackle on this football team. Shell is certainly a better option than Little. Should the Dolphins trade for an offensive tackle, though? Yes, you have got to trade for an offensive lineman, preferably an offensive tackle, and Taylor Moton is the best possible option right now. He has a 76.2 pass blocking grade this season. That's higher than anyone in the Dolphins. Make the call, Chris Grier. Do whatever it takes to improve this offensive line. Because if you do not improve this offensive line, you are not going to contend in this league because your quarterbacks, 3 straight weeks, may I remind you, have gotten hurt. Do whatever it takes to pull off this trade. Neil Driscoll, who hosts the Fins Too Deep podcast, tweeted this earlier, or I should say last night. Send a 2nd-round pick and Cedric Wilson to Carolina for Taylor Moton. And you fix the offensive line. He's a top 5 right tackle in the league. And I agree. And, yeah, that's kind of a lot to send a 2nd-round pick and Ced Wilson. But the Dolphins can maybe get a 6th-round pick in return. I'm all for making this trade. In fact, the Dolphins should do this trade, improve the offensive line. This would fix not all your issues amongst the O-line, but a lot of them by trading for Taylor Moton. And then Ced Wilson has not gotten involved at all this season. He just has, 1 or 2 catches? He's been non-existent. Make the trade. Carolina needs a wide receiver after trading Robbie Anderson to Arizona earlier today. So would you do this trade if you're a Dolphins fan? Type D for deal or type ND for no deal down in the comment section. Go down. Let me know what you would do. I am typing D for deal. I am spamming D for deal down in the comment section. The Dolphins need to make this trade, and they need to do it now. In fact, do it today, and you can have Moton starting on Sunday Night Football on Sunday. He's better than all the other options you have right now at right tackle. Get it done. Speaking of, the offensive line. Have we talked about the offensive line today, producer Patrick Seaman? We're still going to talk about the offensive line 10 minutes into the show. Should the Dolphins move Connor Williams to left guard? Yes. They should not have moved him to center to begin with. He has been a disaster there. Move him back to his natural position of left guard because he's legitimately a top 10 guard in the league, not so much the center position. Take a look at his PFF grades in the last 5 weeks. 52, 56.8, 67.3, 59.5, 56.3. This looks like the grades I had in Italian before I dropped the class my freshman year of college. I mean, just a bunch of 50s and 160. I mean, this is just abysmal. This is an easy call. Move Connor Williams back to left guard, trade for an offensive tackle, and you fix this offensive line, I think. This is my dream offensive line for this season. J.C. Tretter's not on here just because he retired. I almost put him on here, but I didn't. Terron Armstead, Connor Williams, back at his natural position of left guard. Michael Deiter is a better center than Williams. Robert Hunt, your right guard. Taylor Moton as your right tackle. This would be a solid offensive line. Yeah, it could still get better, but this would fix a lot of the issues and would protect Tua Tagovailoa. This is what I want for the rest of the season. Should the Dolphins sign a corner? I know, not the offensive line this time. Should the Dolphins sign a corner after Nik Needham got hurt yesterday and his season is over? Nik Needham, if you missed it, tore his Achilles in yesterday's loss. He's carted off the field. We learned a couple hours after the game that the diagnosis was a torn Achilles, so he is out for the season. Brutal blow to the Dolphins secondary. Here are your free agent options when you're talking about maybe bringing somebody in. Kevin King, Janoris Jenkins, Richard Sherman, A.J. Boye. Joe Haden retired, but that's an easy call. I think he'd be interested in coming out of retirement to have a pretty significant role on the Dolphins. Here is the updated cornerback depth chart here. You got X and Kader Kohou. It's wild. Kader Kohou was an undrafted free agent out of Division II Texas A&M Commerce. And here he is, one of the top 2 corners on this team right now, at least until Byron Jones comes back. We do not know when Jones will be back. Nik Needham out for the season. Keon Cross and Noah Benogany and Justin Bethel round out your cornerback room right now. Give Igbo credit, man. He played pretty well yesterday. I don't think enough people are talking about that. His PFF grade was pretty good, but he certainly did a pretty good job matching up with Adam Thielen. I wish I could say the same about X. X actually had a 49.8 PFF grade yesterday going up against Justin Jefferson. Guys, go down, subscribe to the channel. A lot of trade rumors to discuss the rest of the week. Going to get you guys a trade rumors video here in the next 2 days.